To call this special council meeting to order. Before we proceed further, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which we're all situated during this meeting is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Anishinaabe people, many of whom continue to live in our community and add to its diversity and richness. Madam Clerk, the roll call. Madam Acting
All
Clerk.
members of council are present, Your Worship.
Thank you. There is one addendum. There is a report relative to West Wind Niagara Developments, Inc. project on Thunder Bay Road. Municipal address is 3285 Thunder Bay Road. There's some requested amendments to the agreement, memorandum of understanding that we had entered into. So that will be item number 6 on our agenda. Consideration of bylaws will be number 7, and the adjournment will be number 8. In terms of announcements, only one announcement this evening, and that is I'd like to congratulate on behalf of council, Robert McAlpine, who has been the recipient of the Professional Gold Seal designation as a construction safety practitioner. He's one of 21 such individuals in Ontario and one of 66 across the country. This is something that he has worked for diligently, comes from the Canadian Construction Association, and is an indication of Robert's prowess in his field. So congratulations, Robert. We're very proud of you. There are no further announcements this evening. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a conflict of interest with the addendum, which is number 6 on the report as with West Wind. And it's because I have a business relationship with one of the business partners.
Okay, are there any others? Then that takes us to the closed session item. And Councillor Noyes, I understand you have the motion for us to go into closed session?
Yes, Mayor Redekop, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dubanow that the council does now go into closed session at 5:33 p.m. to discuss the following. Pursuant to subsection 239 in brackets 2 and brackets C of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land that by the municipality or local board. RE proposals for disposal of Fire Station 6.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. And before we go into closed session, I'm obligated to ask each of you if you are alone and not recording this meeting. I'll start with Councillor Noyes, whom I see in the top left corner of my screen.
I am alone and I am not recording the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Dubanow.
I'm alone and not recording the meeting, Your Worship.
Councillor McDermott.
I am alone and I'm not recording the meeting.
You, Councillor Zanko.
I'm alone and not recording the meeting.
Councillor Lubberts.
I'm alone and not recording the meeting.
And Councillor Butler.
I'm alone and not recording the meeting.
Thank you. So, Madam Clerk, at this point, we then, I think, leave the open session and go into a separate room in the ether.
Yes, and I'm just setting that up right now. Back. Back, yeah.
Should I help you move this?
No.
Are we still in the meeting? Thought you were present.
Oh,
No, big
you underwear?
unshirts. We'll try them on and see.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's supposed to be up to 50 plus and then dry quick, so I thought they'd be good for paddleboarding.
Yeah, for sure.
But I bought you two because basically you're buy one get one free. But
Where?
not where
I don't even know where that is.
it's where you guys got your backpacks. Or Myrtle has
Oh.
backpack.
Okay, thank you.
So I tried to see.
Okay.
They had large, but in kind of weird colors like orange. Doesn't fit. Take it back. You okay?
Just wanted this to be over. I thought this was gonna be like rocket quick. I didn't have to wrap that. Anyway, how was your appointment?
He froze it with nitrogen and said that they'll just come off. He said they're not.
Oh.
This
okay.
one is a wart, and this is just. He said they'll dry.
Oh, so he like with nitrogen?
And you can see they're kind of swollen.
Yeah. And I'll just come on.
Yeah, so they'll just dry up. So I come back
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, but seems to be feeling up good, so that's good news all around.
Who's rest your
Good, I like that. Trying to get things done. What are the kids doing? Is Olivia home?
No. Miles watched TV.
We go on that stuff too.
Yeah, he did. He set it up back there. I guess he went to the commons and he couldn't figure it out and he couldn't figure it out. So between the trees, which actually makes more sense. Why would he do that?
Why wouldn't you do that?
He thought he wanted grass.
And Aaron?
Yeah.
It's only actually over there.
I think he'd actually practice the game. Anyway, what do you want to eat?
Can I let you know in like 15 minutes? Because I'm hoping that they'll be done in 15 minutes. That would be, mean they've been in there for almost a minute.
Okay. Well, I might make them ahead. Do you want just like red sauce, mozzarella, pepperoni, like traditional? I got that charcoal.
Yeah,
And then sorry.
I'm glad you got that because the self-starting stuff we have in the past and it smells and like gas.
Yeah.
And it makes your food taste like gas.
But we don't need anything else.
It's paper. I think what I'll do is I might throw that, that chimney that I've got, just throw that in the back too, like where the propane and all that stuff is. And then that's good to go. I'm gonna start in there.
All right, I'll go get that. Haven't heard from her yet.
Okay, so we're all back. And Councillor Zanko, you have the motion for us to resume in open session?
Yes, I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Butler, that council does now rise and reconvene from closed session at 6:41 p.m. with report that staff proceed as directed.
Are there any questions or comments? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the recommendation? None opposed, that is carried. And Councillor Zanko, I understand that you have to leave the meeting?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much. And before we proceed then to the next item, which is on the agenda, which is the report that was referred to in the addendum, I want to point out that we have a new face on the screen. Typically, these meetings are attended by our clerk, Carol Schofield, but now we have the acting deputy clerk, Ashley Carter, here. So this is her first appearance in that capacity, and so far you're doing an excellent job, and we appreciate you being here. Okay, Councillor Dubanow, you have a motion.
Yes, I do, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes, that council authorizes the entry into an agreement to amend the memorandum of understanding with Westwind Niagara Developments Incorporated for 3285 Thunder Bay Road, authorized by bylaw number 71-2020 to replace Appendix A to the Memorandum of Understanding with Appendix 2 to report PDS 65-2021 and make corresponding amendments to lot and block references within the Memorandum of Understanding, and further that council directs staff to prepare and submit a bylaw to council to authorize same.
Are there any questions or comments? So Ms. Dolitz, just maybe you could provide us with the essence of what it is that's being proposed here.
Thank you, Your Worship. So generally, what's happening in this amended MOU plan is generally the developer had to realign Gordon Avenue to make sure that it lined up with the portion of Gordon Avenue to the north. As a result of that, it modified our parkland block, which shrunk the parkland block by 0.04 hectares. And it also did a number of relotting in the subdivision. And you can see on Appendix 3, the kind of changes that occurred. They did reorientate lots onto Street A, going in an east-west direction rather than the north-south facing Thunder Bay Road. They also shrunk down the frontages. So originally, the proposal included 15-meter lot frontages for all of the lots in the subdivision. Now we have lots 2 through 9 and 22 to 15 to 22 being an R2A zone provision, which is more of a 12-meter lot frontage. Some of the lots are 13 meters and a little bit above, but they're below 15 meters, which is your R2 zone provision. So they have modified that from what we previously saw. They've also modified the environmental protection area. So they've dropped the original MOU had us receiving 0.482 hectares. It's been reduced to 0.434 hectares. It also had the shoreline hazard has actually increased in size from 7.19 to 7.25. And the parking, as I said, has been reduced by 1.44 or 0.14 0.44 to 0.140. So overall, the difference in a loss to the town is 0.049 hectares in total of lost land that was previously agreed to. And the other additional lot is something that would have to be vetted also through the public, as well as this whole plan of subdivision. So as you're aware, this hasn't gone forward. We do have an application. That's what's predicating this change to the MOU. When we received the application, we noted it didn't match the MOU plan attached to the bylaw. So we had some concerns and felt that this needed to be shared with council and the public.
So from your perspective, why would we agree to accept less land than what we had originally agreed to? Even if it is such a small portion.
The only thing I can mention there, ultimately that would be up to council. We did do a parking plan. Originally, the parking plan on this site showed 20 spaces. We did manage to fit all 20 spaces because originally that was my main concern. It was looking at first like we could only fit 17. I had some concerns with that because we did want to make sure we could provide some parking here. But we did manage to fit the 20. It is tight, but we did manage to fit that. So from that perspective, I don't have a concern. With regard to the shoreline, parkland, and those kind of the other reductions, environmental protection, I can't say where this will end up in the end as we go through the public participation process, which includes consultation with the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, the region. There may be further changes yet to this plan, which will result in further amendments to the MOU. So I can comment that way. In terms of the loss of land overall total, obviously there is some concern that what was previously agreed to is less than what is being presented now.
I guess my question would be, if we ask for some additional land, would the developer be in agreement with that? Probably not. Are there any other councillors that have any questions right now? Councillor Noyes.
Mayor Redekop, if agreeing to this MOU and the difference in lot frontages, are we then agreeing that we're going to agree to those variances as we move forward, or is this just, or when you're saying that the lot sizes are changing to 12 meter from 15 meter for the R2, now is that still within the zoning requirements, or are they going to be asking for variances?
Ms. Dolce, perhaps you can just run by that. So the original plan was for 15 meter frontages on Thunder Bay Road. Now they're about 13, correct?
That's correct, through you to the councillor, and I can elaborate a bit further as well. The zoning currently on the property is a neighborhood development zone, so rezoning is required in any event. They were going to have to come forward with an R2 zoning in any event, but generally what the public saw was 15 meter frontages as part of that MOU. The MOU did indicate that further public participation process is required for that plan of subdivision, and that it wasn't written in stone. But I just wanted to mention that because obviously that's a plan the public has seen, and now obviously there's been some changes as we move forward, but there's no commitment on the council's end nor on staff's end on the proposal that's being put forward to the public at this point.
Councillor Noyes.
Yeah, thank you. It was the commitment part that I was wondering if they were reading more into this MOU than perhaps what we intended. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other councillors? So, Ms. Dolch, in the past, we've, I think, tried to follow a policy where the outward-looking lots in a new subdivision somewhat resemble the surrounding neighborhood, whereas the internal lots could be different dimensions. And we're talking Thunder Bay Road, which is A, narrow, and B, busy. And this is going to be an issue, is it not? These smaller lot sizes.
Thank you, Your Worship. With regard to Thunder Bay Road, obviously any additional driveways onto Thunder Bay Road are an issue. They have turned a lot of the units to face Street A. which has been helpful. So right now they have 9, with the new plan, they have 9 driveways that will ultimately face Thunder Bay Road. The previous plan had 11, so there is some improvement there, because we do try to minimize access to those major thoroughfares, which is Thunder Bay Road.
Okay. And if there are no other questions, let me just ask one more. Why would it be that there's an extra lot being created and yet we're ending up with slightly less land for the public? How would it work out that way? It seems strange to me. I would have thought that at least the part where the commitment was made to the municipality to provide certain areas for public use would at least be maintained while the rejigging was being done. And looking at the plans, it's hard for me to figure out why we would be losing any space. It looks like most of this really relates more to the reorientation of the lots on Thunder Bay Road and Street A coming into the subdivision south from Thunder Bay Road. And there has been one reconfiguration of the boundary of the one lot. I think it's to the west of the entranceway into our parking area. Looks like there's been some modification of that. But why would it be necessary, or has it been articulated to you why it would be necessary that we would have to receive a smaller amount of land based on what we had committed to before?
Thank you, Your Worship. I do understand your point, and generally, no, it hasn't been articulated why we would have less land in this situation. Obviously, rejigging can occur, and we could still keep the same amount of land originally agreed to if the developer agreed to that.
Well, he's already agreed. I mean, the reality is that there already is an agreement. Correct?
Correct. It's just based on a different concept. And generally, the concern from our perspective is we would like Gordon Avenue to line up.
So that's a benefit to the municipality because there is the alignment of the two intersections. Councillor Lubberts, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. I'm not going to support this, and I'm going to say that we should take this back to the developer and tell him to do the same thing he's asking us to do. Let him have less land to work with, and we may end up with more land. And he's going to have to reorientate his subdivision to make everything fit. And I'm not happy with hearing that we had to squeeze in 20 parking spaces. That means that your parking spaces are the minimum size that you can get, and chances are somebody's not going to park right, and you're going to end up with less parking spaces anyway. And so I think maybe the developer this time should come back with less property to work with, and we still maintain what we get. And if it turns out we end up with more, then we end up with more.
Thank you. Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to grudgingly support this, and the reason being, ultimately, you know, when I look at the previous plan, it wasn't aligned with Gordon Avenue. The lots on the east side of the property look like they were a little less deep, and it looks like the new lots are deeper to accommodate the realignment to the road. And at least from my perspective here, you know, maximizing the use of their property and working with the municipality, it looks like there's trade-offs on both sides, because we're moving the road to accommodate our desire to align with Gordon Avenue, and we're losing a little bit of property in the process. Ideally, I don't think that's perfect, but you know, when we're working with organizations, working with developers, trying to find a way to come to a compromise here. Yeah, we're losing a little bit of property, but we're essentially improving our street grid and not having a weird jog between two roads. And I can understand planning's desire for that. So I am going to support this based on those reasons. It's not something I'm entirely happy about, but I understand the reason why. I think it's, at least to me anyway, as appropriate a reason it can be. So for that reason, I am going to support moving this forward. And as Ms. Dolch said, we're still early on in the process. There's still going to be a plan, an application for a subdivision. There's going to be other opportunities for things to change. But I think I'm, like I said, grudgingly willing to support this moving forward.
Thank you. Any other councillors? So, Councillor Butler, I see that your video is off. You're here though. Okay. So Ms. Dolch, just to take another run at this Gordon Avenue alignment. I would have thought that the ideal method of getting to this particular subdivision would be utilizing the main thoroughfare roads, which would be Burley or Bernard, or coming down Ridge or Prospect onto Thunder Bay Road. Having this internal road Street A lined up with Gordon, does that create a situation where maybe people are going to start using Gordon for access to the subdivision? And is that an issue one way or the other?
Thank you, Worship. I don't think the realignment will necessarily force people down Gordon. I think the major thoroughfares are still going to be the primary modes of access to this site, Thunder Bay, and as you said, Burley. Just aligning Gordon, obviously, offsetting a road is not ideal. We like to see it line up. Ultimately, it was unfortunate when the original plan was done, it didn't show the north portion of beyond Thunder Bay Road. So we didn't even notice that Gordon wasn't lining up. But ideally, that's what we would like to see, is Gordon lining up.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the recommendation? Opposed? I'm sorry, Councillor Butler, I didn't see did your hand go up in favor? Oh, you have a conflict.
Yes.
That's
okay. That's why I blocked myself.
The light that's right. The light just went on. Okay. Yeah. So that means we have 5 people voting, 3 were in the affirmative, so that carries. Okay. That then takes us to consideration of bylaws, and Councillor Lubberts, you have first and second reading for the confirmatory bylaw.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself, and I need a seconder, I guess.
Councillor McDermott.
Seconded by Councillor McDermott. At bylaw number 19-2021 to confirm the actions of council at its special council meeting held on July 26, 2020 is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Noyes, you have third and final reading.
Yes, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dubanow. The bylaw number 91-2021 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is unanimous. And Councillor Dubanow, the motion to adjourn.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes, that council adjourns at 6:59 p.m. to reconvene into a regular meeting of council on August 23rd, 2021.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, everyone, and well done, Ms. Carter.